Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome. Very soon we are going to get Teepa on with us. But before we do, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the replay, I have a quick question for you. And my question is, have you had your loved one or your client refuse something as simple as a shower? Or more frustratingly yet, has your person said something like, I already showered, even though you know darn well they have absolutely not showered. Like, you know they have not. In today's live, I wanted to explore that a little more. I wanted to be able to answer that question with somebody who I would say is expert when it comes to all things dementia education. So she's going to be popping on now. Honestly, when I first started dementia caregiving professionally, it was something I also felt really alone in. It's one of those things that you feel like might just be you, but is actually a lot of folks. All right. So again, she's probably going to be popping on in just a few minutes. But the biggest turning point of me realizing that hygiene refusals with dementia is such a big deal and something a lot of us feel so alone in was when I would say the first video hit 1 million views, which absolutely blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. Absolutely wild. And again, while we're waiting on Teepa to join us, I want to tease a little bit of something we have coming up. And that thing is, we have a few big events for the general public every year. And coming up very soon, we are going to be announcing that big event is going to be 3 days. It's going to be awesome. All right. All right, she's going to be joining again very soon. I see that she has joined. Let's see if I can request her. All right, I'm inviting her now. All right. Okay, so she should be, oh my God.
Good morning, Krista. Hey, everybody.
Good morning. Oh my God, I feel so starstruck right now. Just, oh my goodness. I know. Well, it's like, you know, some of us have our, you know, our Brad Pitt, our Angelina Jolie. For us, you know, it's Teepa.
I tell people, this is sad. This is sad. You need real lives. You really need things that are exciting and interesting instead of an old lady who sits on porches and does stuff and gets into trouble and tries her best to do good stuff. But, you know, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Oh my word. Well, I'm so excited to have you because I was just telling our folks before you were able to join that I had my shower video just talking about this hit over 1 million views, and it was like, whoa, this is something a lot of people can relate to and something a lot of folks feel really alone in. So who better than to bring on than I'd say the expert when it comes to all things dementia education. So I'm very excited to have you on. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. And I am very excited to hear that more and more people are learning options that tend to be better options for both parties, frankly. I mean, that's the thing. It's not just about the person living with dementia getting clean. It's about us having a better relationship because there are other things to life than getting clean. But if you have a bad experience in one place in your life, unfortunately, it tends to flow over into other spaces, and it can be pretty traumatic or dramatic. So we try to avoid the drama and the trauma because what goes around comes around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I guess real quick I don't know who wouldn't know you at this point, at least in our community, but for those who don't, I guess tell us maybe in a few minutes a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Teepa Snow. by training, I'm an occupational therapist with over 42 years of clinical experience. Now, in that background, I've worked and taught at universities. I've worked and taught at hospitals. I've done things in the community. I've done home health. I've done hospice. I've done rehab. I've worked in head injury. I did stroke rehab at what are called high-tech places like Duke and UNC. But I also ran community alternative programs for people who didn't want to go into long-term care and wanted to stay at home. And I've worked with a lot of individuals, a lot of families, all over the US certainly, but also all over the world. My background, I'm from West Virginia originally, spent some time in western Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh, but I've been in North Carolina for over those close to 50 years, over 50 years now. So I'm from North Carolina these days, but originally from West Virginia.
Yeah, like the John Denver song. That's awesome.
Yeah, like the John Denver. Oh yes, he was my hero when I was in college for sure.
Oh my goodness, he's still my hero now. I don't know. It's one of those things where you're either a kids person or an elder person. So, but John Denver's for everybody. So
that's right. That's
absolutely, absolutely. So. I was noticing, I guess, so just after, folks want more of you, once we're done here, I noticed you have an Ask Teepa Anything after this. I know I was teasing my own stuff that I'm announcing on Thursday. There's going to be a 3-day event for us. So is there anywhere that we can catch you if we want more of you after this?
Absolutely. Well, we have TikTok, which is a different platform, but that's also sort of one of those places that we're finding some people, that's their thing. And it's their thing because they need short little bites. I do a live program on Facebook most mornings, and it's recorded other mornings at about 8 a.m. Eastern time. We have a Ask Teepa Anything Wednesday evening at 7. We're typically, I'm a lot around. So if you really want to see what else is going on, you can come to teepasnow.com, and we have a homepage that has all the events free and otherwise listed. But certainly feel free to get up with us. We have 800 number. You can do info at or consults at. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into it. And I know your brand is all about a positive approach. So what would you say, since on face value, it's just like they're refusing us. Why are they refusing something so simple? But what would you say is like the actual underlying reason why our folks will refuse?
Yeah, so we got to get super curious. And this is the hard part, because we often think it doesn't make any sense. Why are they doing this? What we think we've identified is a need that someone has. And what we're having a really hard time hearing is they're not seeing it that way. They're not feeling it that way. So what we want to figure out, for me usually, is what could be the need that we have to meet first? What's their agenda? What's going on first before I start assuming that I know what's wrong and what they need? Which means, first of all, I've got to quit asking yes/no questions. Because if I ask a yes/no question and somebody isn't really wanting something, I'm going to get a no 70% of the time. But I'm also going to get a no if past experience, like if like let's say 3 or 4 times, Krista, when I ask you to go do something with me, it turns out to be an unpleasant sensory experience.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get you to do something you don't like. And you need it, but you don't like it. You need to take your medicine. You need to go to the bathroom. I'm aware of what's going on sort of externally for your internals, I think. But you get more invested in maintaining your control and space than you are in getting your needs met at this point, because what you need is you need to be in control or a sense of control. So if that's the case, then I need to back myself up and get you to want to be with me. And that means I've got to give you some sense of control. It's really hard, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I got my agenda. Here's my agenda. And I start pushing my agenda. And what ends up happening is if you have an agenda too, then we just push agendas at each other and we don't go anywhere. So let's say I said, it's time for your medicine. And you go, I already took my medicine, or I don't want my medicine. So you do your side, I'll do mine. You're the one living with dementia, just to start with. Let's try.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Krista, it's time for your medicine.
Well, I don't need medicine.
What do you mean you don't need medicine? Of course you need medicine. You have diabetes, you have congestive heart failure. You've got to take your medicine.
I've never had any of those things. I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about? You don't have those. Okay, now, right away, who's losing control?
You.
And it's not just, I'm not just losing control of the situation. I'm losing control of me. So it's like, oh boy, that's not good. So why should she come with me when I sound like I'm out of control? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. So let me start off differently. I'm going to start off really differently. I know that my ultimate goal, I know the thinking part of my brain knows that it's time for her medicine, but I'm not going to bring it up because when I brought it up before, it always causes issues. Ooh, hey, Krista. Hey, listen, I like that top. Now that's denim. Yeah?
Yeah, it's denim.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, check this out. I'm going to show you something. You ready? Take a look at this. Look at what I've got right here.
Oh, you got denim on too.
I wore my comfortable denim pants. I sure enough did. Ooh, listen, I have a big favor to ask of you.
Oh, okay.
Could you come help me for a few minutes? I need something and I'm hoping you can help me out here for just a couple minutes.
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Well, come on, okay, so what do you notice I'm starting to get us to do right now?
You're starting to get us to go somewhere else.
Yeah, so how did I hook you?
You complimented me and then you asked me for my help. So you made me feel good and then you made me feel useful.
Okay, and I did something even before that you probably didn't, but your primitive brain did notice. It's called a reticular activating system. Your reticular activating system, part of your more primitive brain, is the part that causes you to pay attention to things. Things that are exciting and interesting, or things that are threatening and scary. And say, oh, hey, Krista. Ooh, that ooh sound is almost always one that engenders excitement. And then a pause, and then, hey, Krista. And at the end, I put a little question mark. I was curious. Hey, Krista. And I used your preferred name. You like to be called. Is that right? I mean, that's what you like to be called? Yeah. Yeah. And it turns out that it's very deeply embedded in our brain that when somebody uses our preferred name in a positive way, it draws our eyes, our ears, and it also draws our emotion. And so now I got you sort of listening to me for content. And then I came up with something that not only that I liked, but I thought might connect us in some fashion. So when you wore your denim, I was looking, so I was thinking beforehand, instead of just my agenda, my first agenda is how do I get connected to you and get you to be good, and we call them positive action starters, with something I'm going to ask you to do. And I'm staying pretty far away from the meds as a goal. Yeah. And that's a goalpost way down, but we're just kicking this off. So, I mean, we got 100 yards to go down the field before we get there. And if all I have is the goalpost in mind, I'm missing how many times I'm going to get tackled and thrown down before we even get there. So I've got to start with, how do we get on the same team instead of you feel like you're opposing me from the outset? We're in this together. I could use your help. Yeah. Now, guess what I've got laid out in the other room?
Oh, the medicine.
Oh my gosh. Oh God, I didn't realize. You know what? We got so busy today. I bet you anybody. Now, would you rather have, let's see, we have cranberry juice, we have water, or I think we even have apple juice. What would you rather do? What would you rather have with your meds you're going to take there? What do you think?
I think I like apple juice the best.
Okay. Tell you what, do you want to get it out of the fridge, or do you want me to get it?
You know what? Why don't you get it? I'm comfortable.
Okay. How about and I'm pointing. How about you get the glass?
Oh, okay.
There you go. Huh. So there were 2 more positive action starters, or 3 actually.
Yeah.
So one was more along the line of, would you rather I do it or do you want to do it?
Mm.
What am I giving you when I give you that?
Yeah, you're giving me the freedom to be a part of this whole situation, rather you doing something to me.
Who's the boss of me?
Me at this point.
How cool is that? So you're the boss of me. So you're in control of me.
Yeah.
And I gave you options. You look pretty put together. So I gave you 3 options. I might drop it to 2. I might just show you water versus juice. And then I gave you something to do, not just waiting on me. And in some cases, I might not be able to do that, but I might. I pointed to the cabinet and I said, how about you get the glass? So I'm activating you. And you don't realize I'm now having you do something. But now with that all coming together, there's a higher probability. Which one do you want to take first, this one or this one? And now we're moving it forward, step by step.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like throughout the whole process, I feel like I'm a part of this. That I could say no to any of the medication.
You could. You absolutely could. You know what? I'm hesitant. I hear you. You'd rather not take it. Tell you what, if you would be willing to take it this time, let's talk to the doctor about why you're even on this one. Because it sounds like you're really not liking this idea of taking these. And, you know, frankly, I hear you, but I'm not the boss of all this med. So I don't want to really have an argument with the doctor. Let's ask him, though. I'm going to note this down because you're saying you don't like taking this particular med. Can you tell me more about that?
About not liking the.
Yeah, because what you're not liking about it. Tell me more about that.
Oh, I mean, it's big. Like
It's
it
big.
Hurts. It hurts.
Oh, it hurts when you go to swallow it. Yeah, well, that makes sense. You know what? We should ask him if there's another way you can get that. Now, I'm going to pause here because what did me being curious about, tell me more about that. What were you able to give me in that moment?
I was able to tell you why I'm refusing.
And we assume that there's no logical reason for the refusal. I mean, they've taken this med for years. I mean, it shouldn't be a problem, except with dementia, sometimes things that didn't used to be a problem now create a greater, and it's when there's a difference, you know, it could be how they make me feel. It could be, you know, any number of things. But getting into arguments rarely results in somebody collaboratively doing something with you. So I'm more committed to like trying to figure out what the heck. Why is this starting to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it'd be scary if you had no idea why you're taking it. It's painful each time you do it. That'd be terrifying.
Well, why would you do it? I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't even need it. And so my brain starts giving me data. That's fake data. It says, well, you don't have congestive heart failure. Why would you even take that?
Yeah.
Because then it keeps me from needing to do something I don't like to do. And it's not me lying. And that's a tricky part because we feel like sometimes, you know, like she knows she has congestive. I mean, how could she not know she has congestive heart failure? I mean, this is crazy. She just told me 15 minutes ago she did. And it's like, that was 15 minutes ago. Brains are tricky things. And when I get close to the med, that's when my brain says, danger, danger. Don't do that. You've got to come up with a reason. Well, you don't even need it. Why would you take it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'll be honest with you, even without dementia at all, like there's some horse pills, vitamins that I'll take that I'm like, oh.
I've switched to a lot of chewables. I mean, I'm into the chewable vitamins because, man, I can handle those a whole lot better. I like chewing things. I do not like swallowing stuff. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So I think the main reason why the showering video in particular did so well is because it's kind of following your principles, where instead of just saying like, this is what you have to do, saying, hey, like, do you think you could help me test this out with the shower wipe? So what would you say would be your approach to if they're saying I already got clean, or like I don't need this, or like what,
Yeah.
how that?
Oh, so you already did that. I am so sorry. I didn't realize that. So the very first thing I want to do is slow the discussion down here. So like,
Mm,
oh. So I use oh as a, oh, you just gave me new data, not
mm,
what do you mean you already took, you haven't had a shower. Look at yourself. Can you not smell? Oh my God. I mean, instead of what I'm feeling myself, I go, oh, I didn't realize that, because what I didn't realize is that your brain is not actually processing time in the same way my brain processes time. It's not processing experiences in the same way mine does. And so what I'm realizing is, oh, look, that brain failure we've been living with, there it is. It's right there. And
mm.
that's what this is. This is her brain failure. So now I got to work around the brain failure because I can't fix it. Oh, so you already washed up. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Listen, I have a real big favor to ask, because I got some new product and I don't know. People say it's good. I don't know. I want your feedback on it. Okay. So I'm going to get a couple of these wash wipes out. They're supposed to be good for people who don't want to do like a whole shower thing. And I wondered if you would
Yeah, that
try.
sounds
I wonder if you would try something with me.
okay.
Now, what have I done in this sequence? What do you notice, Crystal? What are some feelings you have about me? And again, what have I managed to get us to? What would you say?
Mm, yeah. So you validated what I just said. So I feel like you listened to me,
Huge.
and then you offered up a new idea of something we can do together, something that makes me useful, something that's helpful to you.
Absolutely. So did I state the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which is you have not actually cleaned up this morning. You're misremembering your cleaning up of yourself over years and years and years of doing it, but you actually did not do it today. You didn't do it yesterday. You didn't do it the day before. You're missing a chunk of time. I mean, you truly are. I mean, I could try to get you to understand that. But even if I get you to understand that, what am I saying about your independence and your personhood and your capacity? If I
Mm,
do get you to get it,
yeah, you're threatening all those things.
well, you're incompetent. Actually, that's the problem. Kristen, you're actually incompetent. Krista, you're actually incompetent. You
Mm,
do not know what you thought you knew.
mm,
So, you're going to need help. Now, if I convince you of that a lot, then I make you dependent on me for a lot of things. And I better be ready for lots of phone calls, lots of calls for help, lots of hearing my name, lots of questions. Should I do this? Is this what do you want me to do? What do I do now? What do I do now? Because when I convince you that you're incompetent, then where will you go for information?
you.
Yeah, and I'm going to get real tired of this, because it's like, well, what did I tell you? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say something? Oh my God. This is where we shoot ourselves, because we don't mean to, but we direct the person to us for information, but then we get tired of repeating it, because what we've already found out is they don't hold on to new stuff in those moments. And that's really hard when the person I'm supporting is not holding on to things. And if I make it worse, I'm probably going to be sorry about that before too long. So getting out of that box by
Yeah.
reframing it is really helpful for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's there too is uh, something that I know I noticed with a lot of my folks is the more you try to convince them that they needed help for absolutely everything, the more a lot of other things would pop up that seem unrelated, but are probably reactions to the frustration and the anger of feeling like, well, they don't think I could do anything.
You think I'm incompetent? So now I want to drive again. And your brain just goes, what? No, We haven't done, what are you talking about? Driving. This is where now I'm really trying to assert my independence. It's like, you are not, I'll go to the bank and get my money out. And this is also where the higher risk of elopement can come up, because I'm not staying here anymore. I'm done with this. I want to go home. I'm out of here. Sundowning can be more, quote unquote, sundowning. The idea of getting away from you, getting away from this place, getting away from this situation, going somewhere where I feel like I belong becomes more and more something I'm going to chase because I don't like being here, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very interesting. It's all interconnected. None of it's happening in a vacuum.
None of it is happening in a vacuum. Not a single bit.
Oh man. Yeah, so that's definitely awesome advice. So make sure you get curious, you ask them for their help, and you ultimately build that relationship.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Krista.
Yeah.
They did some adjusting of the water temperature in the house. Would you come and check the shower with me? Because I want to make sure, I don't want it to be too hot when it's on, but I also don't want it too cold. Come and check it out with me because I'm going to adjust the temperature, but I want you to feel the spray and see what you think of it. Now, make sure, tell you what, I hate to ask this, but where I really need it is on really tender skin. So where would you have really tender skin? Because it's not going to probably be your hand because you're pretty decent. What do you think? What would be a good place to check?
Maybe like my arm here, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing, and this is why I was hesitating. Would you be willing to wrap a towel around yourself and like take your shirt off and wrap a towel around you so that you could test it? Because I really don't want it getting too hot, and that's what we're trying to adjust it so it can't get too scalding. And the only way really to test it is to have somebody put a body part in that's really tender. And you're right, that could be one. Your chest, sort of like right here, could be one.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to get your clothes wet. Would you be willing? How about putting a towel around yourself and let's try it?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now I will say that I would use with somebody who's sort of still fairly early in their dementia and still has some logic and some reason, but they want to be the boss of something, which is different than how I might approach it for somebody who's more involved and less able to do it. I might just say, here, feel this and put your hand out. Yeah, there you go. How's that? Okay. Yeah. Or no, it's okay. It's okay. Try here. Tell you what, let's get your shirt here. Do this. Go ahead and do your button. And I'll show on me doing the first button. I'll say, get your shirt off because I want you to feel it on your side. I wouldn't give a lot of logic. I would move it forward step by step with a demo of a cue on me. Here, do your shirt right there. There you go. You got it. And if they need assist, then we try to stay to the side where we do work, not right in front. So it's not a feeling trapped phenomena.
Yeah. So what would you do if they're even a little bit further along, even beyond that?
Yeah. So what we would do is really, I would look at, can we go in that room and be okay? Or is going in that room part of the trauma? If getting in that space is traumatizing, then I've got to figure out how to get someone clean outside that bathroom area, because that bathroom has become part of the trigger system that starts the distress and the refusal. So if they're refusing to enter that space, then I'm not going to push the space because I'm more interested in the activity than the space. So this is where I might look at the kitchen sink. I might look at setting up a basin with water in it. I might actually have washcloths already prepped up. I might try the wipes. I'm going to have people seated somewhere, and I classically will start with extremities, because humans are classically less worried about people seeing their extremities than they are their core. So I'll start with, like maybe a foot soak and, then rubbing up the legs and pull your pants up. Let's just see let's try getting lotion on your legs here. But let's go ahead and moisten them with a little damp cloth. Good. And I tend to start with legs and feet or hands and arms a little bit. And then I suggest, you know what? I'm curious about your back, how dry that is. So tell you what, let's try, pull your shirt up. Just pull your shirt up. And if they have an overhead shirt, then we pull the shirt up in the back. And I then say, tell you what, pull your arms out. I don't want to get your shirt wet. And then now, if you want, let's just take it off over your head. Here's a towel to put around the front. And I'll start with the upper body, because for most individuals, the super intense reveal is the lower body, that private zone down there. And so if I can't get like up in the upper body parts, like chest and pits and that kind of thing, highly unlikely that somebody's going to be comfortable revealing down below. Even if we leave the underwear on and just sort of tell you, oh, I got your pants wet. I am so sorry. Here's a dry pair. Let's just switch out. And I'll show people what we're going to put on after we start. So there's not a sense of me trying to get you naked as much as let's change your clothing. So I say the goalpost is down here, so you know what we're working toward, rather than I'm going to get you naked so I can touch you.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Sounds a little uncomfortable for us, So, but in the meantime, let's see what you can do. Here, tell you what, wash right here. And I'm big on cueing and using myself as the canvas to the side to let them see where I'm talking about touching, and then guiding their hand and their vision to their own body part.
Yeah. I know you use the hand over hand thing. Is that something you do in this situation?
Yeah. So one of the things I'll do is put my hand within their hand, and then I take their hand with me, and then their hand often then spontaneously starts doing the thing I was guiding them to. So I'll say, here, let's get your armpit. And I may say, let's get your armpit. And then I'll say, here you go. And then I'll take their hand over here, and then I'll hand them the cloth. And because they're there and they have the cloth, often people will automatically start doing the motion, because it is pretty much an automatic brain function. It's not a thinking function. It's actually a cerebellar, automatic sort of patterned behavior. If I can get your hand in the right place, in the right position, your brain will just go, oh yeah, I know this one. It's cleaning your pits. Sure enough. And then without thinking, they switch off and do the other one. And it's like spontaneous, because once I plug in, then we know the sequence. It's finding the start button that often is the tricky part for most people.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think a lot of the resistance comes from just an issue of modesty, or an issue of pain, would you say?
Oh, good question. I think for people living with dementia, pain and modesty are tied together.
Oh, interesting.
I think there's actually an emotional pain, but there also could be a physical reaction to being touched or attempting to touch that is registered by the human brain as painful. This is painful. This is a painful experience. Being incompetent as an adult is painful. And so, ow, you're hurting me, isn't actually physically hurting me, but it's psychologically incredibly painful. And my brain isn't able to necessarily scope out which it is. And so my brain says, that hurts, don't do it, which is a human reaction to pain, is I've got to make the pain stop. And if the feeling is you're hurting me when all I'm trying to do is help, then avoidance becomes the thing I want to do, because I want to avoid pain. And so I start avoid you, and I don't want that. And so recognizing the pain is one of the very first things. Ow, I'm hurting you. I am so sorry. I never meant to do that. Wow. Was it how fast I went, or something else? Well, you keep asking me to do things, and I don't know what you want me to do. So what's the pain?
The pain is too much information. They're feeling overwhelmed.
Oh, so too much. I am so sorry. Guess what I probably was doing? Trying to give them a lot of information.
Mm.
Auditory information when you're trying to do something can literally overwhelm the system, because when I take in the data on the left temporal, I have to distribute it, and it's like, I don't know, I can't follow everything, which is why I tend to use more visual cueing. And I use my hands. I talk with my face and my hands a lot, because ooh, if I do that, where do you want to look right now?
Where you're pointing.
Yep. Uh-huh. You want to see what it is I'm pointing at, don't you?
Yeah.
And so using that human reaction to somebody noticing something, that you want to notice it too. You want to see what I was looking at. So when I do this, I go, there's a post right here. Put your hand like right there. And when I do that, there you go. Excellent. You got it. Okay. And now we're going to step down here. Put your foot right there. There you go.
Okay.
Right. And without thinking, I'm directing your body through my body with only attention cues. That's all I'm really giving you verbally is attention cues.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be really helpful for the person who feels overwhelmed by so many instructions on the shower and stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So aside from pain and aside from modesty, what would you say is like maybe one more roadblock to this?
Pain, modesty, I'd say sequencing.
Mm.
Not being able to figure out the next step and how to do this stuff, it really is disturbing to a place of dysfunction, because I shouldn't have to think about this. I just do it. And so to actually have to pause and think through, how do I take a shower, is just like, well, I already did that, didn't I?
Mm.
It's like, I have no idea. How do you take a shower? It seems like it should be super simple, and it is when it's automatic. But when you actually start breaking it down, it's incredibly complex. And the sequence really does matter. And there's so many steps, and there's objects, and there's sensations, and there's auditory information, and there's physical information, and there's psychological stuff going on, that it's really, that's why I think the bathing, showering thing is the ultimate in intensity when it comes to doing what we do without thinking, when you have to start thinking about what you're doing, and why it's really hard to do it for another human being who has their own pattern that you're trying to plug into somehow, but you're not them and they're not you. And it makes it really tricky in so many ways. I mean, like super tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I've been getting certified with Dementia Montessori, and we did an exercise where I had to list off every single step. It's like, wow, you don't realize how many steps there are in any given task until you go to write it out, and you're just like, no wonder they're overwhelmed.
Yeah, one of the really fun things I do sometimes is I have somebody partner with someone else, and you can't move your limbs at all, but you have to tell somebody how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich one step at a time. And all they can do is hear you, and they can't do anything but what you say to do.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing how awful that is for someone, because you think, oh yeah, no problem. And then you start trying to think about it, and he says, so get the bread out. And it's like, I can't, and you can't say anything other than I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. And you're trying to figure out why not. Well, because you didn't take the twist tie off. And if you don't take the twist tie off, you can't get the wrapper off. And if you don't get the wrapper off, you can't get the bread out. And it's like, oh, but I mean, well, take the twist tie off. And then you have to ask how.
Yeah.
Because take the twist tie off sounds like an easy thing, but it means you have to understand what is a twist tie. How do you get it off? Does it take one hand or two hands? So you've got to then, take your right hand, reach out, and what it actually requires to take over control of another human's brain sequencing is really pretty intense.
Yeah. 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 You start to realize just how many steps there are to any given thing.
And then to switch it and just demonstrate what you're doing with the person to your side. So you're right beside them and you do one step at a time, the parallel play phenomena that we use. I mean, it's a very common thing with kids. We do things in parallel. So I show you and then you do it. I show you and you do it. I show you and you, so that we have this back and forth going on. It's a call and respond, but it's body to body, brain with brain. And we can show better than we can say sometimes. But
Yeah.
until you try it, you think one would be easier than the other, but it actually isn't.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's interesting. I feel like all of us are really like this. And I think truly the reason why your TikToks or Reels or things have really gone off is because honestly, showing is more impactful than telling.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when we can put ourselves in that situation and the idea of you parallel play before you cooperative play. Cooperative play comes after parallel. When I feel comfortable and more confident and competent, that's when I want to play with you as opposed to playing alongside you. When I feel like you're not going to take over and I'm not going to look stupid, that's when I'm willing to try it with you, not just beside you. And I think what we do is we start trying to help in a cooperative way before we do a parallel demo to sort of sort through with people what could be helpful to you as we're trying to do it. So I think, we've been talking. Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Coffee. You?
What water?
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got it, boy. That's water next. Yeah. Oh, come on. Let's go get some.
Oh. Yeah, definitely.
That's called a transition.
Yeah. That's definitely a good one, especially if your loved one or your client tends to be someone who wanders off. Just demanding they get back inside. Like I've had folks be like, "No, I'm not doing it."
I hear you. I hear you. You don't want to do that. Well, tell you what. How about if we go this way instead?
Oh, where are we going?
Well, the mailbox is here. How about if we go to the mailbox first?
Is something in the mailbox?
I don't know. Let's go look.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. So it's, for me, it's always, I got to keep reading you. Where are you? And when you give me a pushback, even if it's a little pushback, okay, that was pushback. It wasn't an out and out refusal, but it was a pushback. So yeah. I need to be tuned in to those little pushbacks, because if I roll over those pushbacks and I keep trying at that point, guess what I'm working my way toward?
Yep, an outright refusal.
You got it, because that's how you're in control then, because I won't listen. Which isn't what I meant, but it's what's happening.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I notice so many caregivers get caught up in like, well, I need to explain this to them logically, or they have to know the truth. I don't know. Like, I guess quickly, what are your thoughts on that? On logic and the truth?
Yeah, logic and the truth. What I've got to figure out, what is their logic and what is their truth? Because they always have logic and truth. The tricky part for me is it sure doesn't match what it used to be, because when I hear it, it sounds illogical. So I've got to figure out why it feels logical to them, or they wouldn't have brought it up. I mean, nobody brings up illogic. So for them, what they're thinking is this makes sense. And it's like, whoa, huh. So you were thinking that putting on that extra shirt, that's it, that would keep you comfortable. Oh, because I like feel your forehead because I thought you were sweating.
Mm.
No, you weren't sweating.
Oh,
Oh,
what?
maybe, but you weren't feeling it. You weren't feeling hot. So you were thinking adding a, you know what? Can we try something?
Oh, okay.
Okay, now once again, what's happening here?
You're asking me questions. You're getting my consent with it.
Well, what I am is I'm like, okay, did she realize she was sweating? I don't know. And I won't know if I'm not curious. So she's putting on another shirt when she's already sweating rather than saying, you are not cold. I mean, what are you talking about? You can't be cold. Look, you're sweating. It sounds very different than here, feel right here. What do you notice? Because I've got to figure out what's her brain taking in. What is it not taking in? What does she think about what she's taking in? Because thinking only happens when the data comes in and gets processed. So if she's not processing data, I got to figure out which data is she processing, which is she not? Is she misprocessing? Because without that information, I'm going to have a hard time figuring out how to be supportive in a way that's going to keep her relatively safe. So she'll load those clothing layers on until she literally will have a heat stroke because she's making a mistake. And unless I can figure out how to get her brain to notice something different or try something different, I've got to take her to, so I have another option. Turn the room temperature down way low because that can provide her with an out that keeps her core temperature turned down a little bit. So I got to get super creative about the options I have because the truth is I can't make her do something. I can try, but ultimately, what can I control? Well, I can control the thermometer in the room. I can control the temperature of the, the things I offer her. So I could look at, could I possibly give her a damp cloth that's, although it's warm, it's wet. So maybe it would absorb some of that and give her body another way to get rid of heat. I've got to think sort of in more primitive mode because that's where her brain is functioning and it's broken right now. It thinks she's cold. She's not cold. She's overheating. So somewhere there's a misstep in the system, but I may or may not get her brain to get that. Then I've got to look for other alternatives. So how can I keep her safe? And it gets, I got to go to a space that's going to give me some options. Maybe getting in the car and cranking up the AC. A smaller space that I can control, but I don't know. But it means I've got to think outside my box.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of us think that we're going to give them more dignity by telling them exactly the truth or the logical reason as we see it, but oftentimes we're communicating the exact opposite. That we don't trust their judgment, that we don't trust them.
Yeah. So if I were to say to you, listen, I got to get out of here. I got to go home when I actually am home. What does that say to you right away? Given what we've been talking about.
That there's something that doesn't feel like home to you right now.
Right. So it could be what I'm seeing, could be what I'm hearing, could be what I'm feeling, could be a sense I have. This isn't a safe place. And so what I'm reporting to you is I got to get out of here. So we can try to do something to make it feel safe. So the first thing, what might you, given what we've talked about, what would be your first acknowledgement to me?
Oh, you want to get out of here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
this isn't my house. I don't know why you brought me here, but I don't belong here.
Okay. So something's not right here.
Right.
And you don't belong here.
Yeah. And I don't know why you brought me.
Okay. You don't know why I brought you here.
Yeah. So you're doing some really, really super reflection, which you're hearing my messages, And what are you now figuring out inside your own brain? What are some messages that I'm giving you that are hard messages to hear because you don't want to hear them because it feels unfair, because that's not true. None of these things are true from your perspective. What's it saying though?
It's saying that you don't feel like you belong here, and that you don't want to be here. And you may not want to be here with me, which is hard to say, hard to hear.
Yeah, because you're my only thing. I mean, unfortunately, we're in a relationship where you're my primary, and that's it. So that means we've either got to think about changing locations or changing partners. We can try to change the activity, but I made a lot of emphasis about, you know what, I'm really not interested in being here, and I'm feeling a little confused about you and what your role is to me. The stronger message was not here, whether it's my home or not here right now. And the other one is that I think you have too much control. You're trying to control things, and I don't know why you're doing this. And so, what do you think might be helpful to ease my discomfort or my pain?
Well, either try to change the location or maybe give you space.
Yeah. So you're not sure why I brought you here. Oh, I am so sorry. And this is where I'll use that apology thing. I am so sorry. I thought you wanted to be here, but you do not right now want to be here. And it feels like I'm making you stay. That's not okay. Wow, I hate that. Because I thought this was an okay place to be, but it's not feeling that way right now. So is it what I did or what we're doing or something else?
You know what we're doing is a whole lot of nothing.
Oh my God, a whole lot of nothing. Well, that explains it. Yeah, you've always stayed busy and just doing this. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Hey, listen, tell you what, I'm going to ask you for a big favor. Now, I'm not saying we can't go, but I could use your help before we do it. I need to get clothes in the washer, and I totally was not doing it. I was too busy chit-chatting. I shouldn't have done it. Come on, let's get it loaded, and then we can see where that takes us.
Okay.
Thank you for helping me out. Man, you know, you get to talk. I get to talking, and I totally forgot. We gotta get going. This is ridiculous. No wonder. Here, tell you what, grab those clothes and let's throw them in the wash. So what did you tell me, Krista, that was important here?
I basically told you that I was bored.
Yeah. So the reason people tend to be seeking is something's not meeting their needs. And how much did I own that I was responsible for this problem?
Basically 100%.
You got it. It's all my fault. You're absolutely right. And I am so sorry. That was ridiculous. It was all my fault. I shouldn't have talked so much. And I've had people say, yeah, you don't know how to shut your mouth. And I go,
yeah.
And so I try for a little bit, because what they're telling me is I'm giving them too much and I'm overwhelming them. And I need to hear that. And it really is hard to hear when all we're trying to do is help. But if we're not willing to hear it, then we're not very helpful, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think ultimately what's behind refusals or what's behind a lot of things is ultimately the more you build that relationship and the more you get curious, the less likely you're going to run into problems in the long run.
Yeah, what we talk a lot about is permission. If you can get permission, and it's really getting yourself to back up until the person is okay with what's happening. And that's tricky because it can feel like we're okay and then we're not. And it's usually a miscommunication. Sometimes because of tone of voice or position of body or a moment in time where it reminds me of something from my past, or it reminds me of something from my past, or, you know, it's triggering something and it's like, oh boy, that just went sideways. Where'd that come from? and acknowledging it was a surprise to me. And it's like, wow, I did not expect that reaction. And sometimes simply the word wow, saying it out loud, wow, I really surprised you.
Mm.
I am so sorry. I thought that we were on the same page. I thought you hadn't taken your med, and you're saying you did, and now it feels like I'm so sorry. Wow. Huh. Well, I apologize. I truly didn't think you had done the meds yet. I don't know what's happening, because
Yeah.
I thought I saw him in the kitchen, but maybe not. I mean, I've
Yeah.
certainly mistake that way. And I apologize, because I thought I was sure that I saw them. And, I have on occasion gone to take my medicine, mostly vitamins, and then set them down because I got called away to do something. And then I find them later and realize, oh my God, I never did that. I mean, that happens to me, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Would you do me a
absolutely.
favor? Would you come look with me and see if you see anything on the counter? Because I swear I saw something on the counter, but maybe I'm wrong. And, at least we're on a page where we're not arguing with each other. And if we find them on the counter and she goes, those aren't mine, then I'm like, oh, I thought they were. All right, well, I need to get them up off the counter. They don't belong there. That's for sure.
Mm.
And so at this point, I've got to get them out of sight, and we'll start over again maybe a little later. But continuing to beat the horse, I don't see value in continuing to struggle with a very low probability of success, in my experience. Again, just my experience, but I've been around the block a few times and really ran into the wall a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is so interesting just how you can get a 150% different reaction if you just wait for 20 minutes and come back. That's the exact same thing.
Yep. Yep. Because now I put the pills back in the box, and I said, now we're going to do it a different way. I'm going to try some other strategy, because, I'm trying the same thing over and over and over. If I've established the pattern isn't working, I've got to be willing to shift the pattern. And whatever that means, I've got to change something. And it can be just retry and see if they're in a different place, but it could also be, I need to get myself in a slightly different place, or something might have to shift a little.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, oh my goodness. You have given us so much wisdom, so many things to work through when it comes to showering, talking about it may be a sequencing problem, it may be a modesty issue, it may be a physical or emotional pain issue going on. But either way, ultimately what's at the heart of it is building that relationship, building that trust, and getting curious about what it is that our person needs. So I guess before I let you go, which I'll be honest with you, I don't, but I know I have to.
We both have other things. I'm looking here, we're running out of that time we have together, and we've got to look at what else has to happen today, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess any last thoughts or anything that you would like to share with us, like anything else that's happening in your world?
Well, I mean, what you've really been talking about and what you've been promoting and what you're helping people appreciate is we're in this together. And if we want life to be better for all of us, we've all got to change, because frankly, what's happening is one person's brain is definitely changing. So the question is, are we going to change our brains and our bodies and our way of looking at things so we have a better chance of going through this together in a way that's less painful to both of us, that overwhelms us less, and that gives us options that make sense to our brains? Because once I start finding success, as you say, once it's successful, the pathway starts to happen, and then I can build new synapses. And the idea of neurodegeneration and neuroplasticity are woven together in human brains. And I think everybody learns something new every time we're with one another. And the question is, do we see our partner as worthy?
Mm.
And do we see what they have to teach us as valuable? And can we see them as teachers rather than simply people we care for? Because if you're not my partner in this, then I think my job is different than it actually is, which is to get permission and then to offer support and to see if you can help me and try things together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's ultimately what relationships are built on to begin with, is there's a give and there's a take. And when you take, when the whole idea of
Yeah.
consent and of reciprocity is taken away, then it stops being a relationship.
Yeah. And I think whether it's a paid relationship or whether it's a family relationship, a committed, like emotional relationship, I think reevaluating where I am and what I still like about you, that's one of my really first questions I'll often ask. Tell me what you still like about the person you're supporting. And if there's a real hesitance, then I know where my focus needs to shift is onto the person who's providing that support and care, because they're in danger of losing that reason why they do what they do, which is I like something about that person I'm supporting versus I love them and I told them I would always take care. And it's like, ooh, that sounds like a commitment of feeling guilty rather than a moment of finding this relationship still valuable in some way because there's still something there that I can find moments of pleasure in or satisfaction in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's gonna keep you going.
For sure. That's what keeps all of us going is those moments of actual this satisfies something deep inside me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, everybody make sure to check out Ask Teepa Anything tomorrow. Remind me what time that is tomorrow?
It'll be 7 p.m. Eastern time.
7 p.m. Eastern time
Yep.
tomorrow. If you're on my email list, be sure to check out your email because I'm going to be announcing something big, something I only do a few times a year. So check that if you're on there. But until then, Teepa, thank you so much for joining
You
us.
are welcome, Krista. Thanks for having me. And thanks to everyone out there who tuned in, is listening in. And thank you all for making a difference in the world for people living with dementia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care.